you guys doing? Woo! Enjoying your PAX? It's almost over. Oh my goodness. So what we do today is we're going to wrap, essentially talk about video games. I'm going to stand away from the mic because it's real loud. Video game memories is what this is, and what makes a game special. What I did is brought together some hardened video game journalists. See, he's already hardened. And we're going to talk about basically what we think our childhood memories were of video games, but also, can we recreate that feeling, or is it lost forever? Yes. Wait, okay, we're done. The panel's over. Thanks for coming. So let's have everybody introduce themselves. We'll start down the end with Anthony.
My name's Anthony Gallegos. I used to work at IGN and went up for like a total of 6 years, and now I work in development. So, that's me.
My name's Jason. I'm the Metal Jesus on YouTube. I got my start working at Sierra online back in the 90s. And yeah, making crazy YouTube videos now.
Is this working? Oh, it is. Okay. I'm Holly Green. A lot of you know me as Winter Series Drugs on Twitter. I'm also the managing editor of Game Breaks. And you can also see my work on Polygon.
I'm Daniel Dwyer. I work at GameSpot here in San Francisco. This is Seattle. It's been a long weekend. I also usually wash my face, so if anyone's wondering why there's blood on it today, it's because I broke a razor in the shower. Point of reference, make sure you don't shave in the shower, shave in front of the mirror so you know where the blood is coming from when it starts dripping from your face.
You actually have flesh missing from your face,
no,
so that's not something you can pop off.
PAX,
As life lessons goes, that's pretty good. My name's Tadhg. I'm not actually a journalist, but I sort of am a little bit sometimes. I write for people like Gamasutra and TechCrunch from time to time. I'm also a game designer, so I actually make things.
Yeah, so everybody's involved in the industry in some way. I'm Rodela, your host and moderator. I do a bunch of things on the internet, so you can use the Googles. But I am doing Video Game Break podcast right now and doing a show with actually this guy, Crazy Town Video Games on the Metal Jesus Rock channel, among other things. But enough about me, let's get about the discussion. And what I want to do first is do each person a video game memory. Basically, what's the first system, no, what's the first game you played? Not even system, first game. And then maybe something that was going on in your life. You know, like, what was happening? Maybe that will show us why the feeling was so good. So who wants to start? Oh, Ty.
So I'm actually about 1 billion years old. So my first ever.
Such a quaint voice, it's beautiful.
I have a lilting broke. The lilting broke from Dublin. The first game I can remember playing sort of properly was The Hobbit, the sort of text adventure stroke with like little fill-in graphics that appeared on the Sinclair Spectrum in like 1984 or thereabouts, when I was basically kind of almost out of nappies. No, it was the first one I ever really remember kind of playing. I did play, I think, a couple of other things like Pong and stuff before that, but it's the first one I ever remember kind of experiencing the sense of a game where I was actually almost like looking into a world rather than kind of doing anything. I got really into the fantasy of the whole thing. It was before I had actually read Tolkien either as well, so I didn't actually know anything about the source fiction, if you like, at all. So I was just kind of going, who's Thorin? That's pretty cool. What are these Cyclops doing? And stuff like that. And you know, trying to get the character to go north all the time, go north, and getting really mad by the puzzles. That's what I learned at an early age. I'm very bad at riddles. And so just going like, and getting my mum to sort of help me with all that sort of stuff. Well, she was a huge Tolkien fan, so this was like legitimate computer gaming to her. I was like, okay, yeah. And then when I actually read The Hobbit, I was quite like, oh, that's not like the game. That's like, I had this weird, like, if you like, inverted sort of sense of legitimacy or something, where to me it was like the game was the primary canon for ages, and the book was actually like some sort of rip-off. Eventually I got on to reading the rest of Tolkien. I was like, oh, okay. But that was my first one.
So how old are you at that time?
I was, I think, 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was your life happy? Were things good?
Yeah, well, yeah, sort of.
This is half psychology at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you about my mother.
Did you figure out how to jerk off yet?
No.
This life wasn't on me.
No. I don't do that. I'm a good Irish boy.
Catholic guilt.
You're a bad Irish boy.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was, well, I don't know, it was just around the time.
It was a good time, you know? Like,
yeah, it was just around the time when I was kind of in school and sort of proving myself to be bright, which turned out to be a bad idea. And sort of kind of, I guess just sort of coming of age a little bit and realizing that I wasn't like other kids.
That might be something right there.
Yeah, and that whole kind of like diving into like escapist places and stuff was very appealing to me because I didn't really understand what it was like, what was going on, why my class kind of hated me and stuff like that.
Interesting. Okay, we'll use that. We'll use that. I'm gonna make a note. Danny, what's yours?
First game I ever completed was Secret of Monkey Island on the Amiga 600. Yeah! It took me like 3 months though. It was, I think I was about 8 years old, but that game was was fun in one respect because I think, maybe to attest to this as well, when you grow up in Ireland, or maybe when you grow up in like any like small like town or
Basically,
village.
you're Catholic country.
Yeah, it's super insular. You live on an island, so you're like outward looking the whole time. So like just the pure concept of actually getting on a boat and going somewhere was just like fantastical. And I guess both of us have actually ended up moving away. So maybe that says something.
Be careful what good food is.
Shit here. But I think the one that sort of, whenever I think about growing up and the game that sort of was with me the whole time was the series, again, Amiga. Did anyone here ever own an Amiga?
I did. Yeah.
Really?
Me and this guy.
Where are you from? Oh, really? Okay. Because Commodore wasn't a big thing over here, right?
Oh yeah, it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Just the Amiga never made it?
Yeah,
No,
no, Commodore
Commodore
discussion.
64 was huge
Oh, of
here.
course.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. I'm not as old as you, sorry. But the game I used to play, which definitely made it over here, was a game called Sensible Soccer. And the reason why it was really important to me was that my brother was 6. My father would later tell me I was what he referred to as a happy accident. So my brother was 6 years older than me, and like that's like eons for boys growing up, probably for any kids growing up. Especially I think for boys who were very like territorial about things. So like he had his hobbies and he didn't want to give them to me. But SWAS, Sensible Roller Soccer, and Sensible Soccer was like this common ground for the two of us, where the age gap kind of disappeared, and skill-wise, there was a much sort of leveler playing field. So throughout our sort of young lives, we always had Sensible Soccer throughout the iterations, like FIFA today, where you buy it every single year. And then we actually kind of fell out of favor with each other for a number of years when I was in my teenage years. And
that happens. I did the same thing with my brother.
And the weird thing was when we came back, when we started like the forgiveness stuff happened when I was kind of in my late teens.
He was like, here's soccer.
The game that sort of, Christmas was FIFA. Was sitting down and playing that game, and just mom and dad went to bed and we stayed downstairs with a couple of cans of cider and just played this game together and shut up. Yeah, so it's weird. Like it's you don't usually talk about sports games in the sort of we like to talk a lot about how games make us feel and how they are wonderful interactive social tools. We don't usually talk about Madden or FIFA in those respects. Certainly in my case, anyway, that was really important.
Well, that's a great story, and also because soccer was so important too, right? That's such a big thing for you. Holly, let's go on. I'm going to make a mental note of that common ground.
So I think the first game I actually got to play myself, instead of just watching other adults play, was Sonic the Hedgehog 2. But it's really close between that and Aladdin. I was in 2nd grade at the time, and I remember my dad finally kind of pushed my mom to get a Sega Genesis, mostly because he wanted to play football games, which really meant us holding the controller while he beat us like 107-6. I had a great dad. But getting that Sega Genesis and playing Aladdin and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 with my sisters was really special in that I grew up in a really fractured home, and up until that point and even afterwards, my sisters and I did not bond very well. And one of the only memories I have of my childhood that's positive with my siblings is having these moments in the playroom where we'd sit down and play Aladdin or Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And when you're a kid, you have all this time in the world to be so obsessed over it. Like you can, go over every little minutia of the game and get it absolutely perfect. And you're willing to sit there for hours and hours and hours to make it happen. And so we'd come home from school and sit together and just put in all that time. And I didn't know it at the time, but I have OCD, and it was really starting to form around that time. So I would do things like play Aladdin, and I would get every gem, and I would get every apple, and I would never get hit, and I would beat the game. Or I'd play, Sonic the Hedgehog 3D Blast. I don't know if you guys remember that one.
Great game.
I could get every ring. I could never get hit, and I would win.
You never got hit in that game?
Never got hit, got every ring, beat the game. And that's the kind of kid I was. It's hard to find another time in my life where I got to bond with my sisters quite that way. I mean, some of us have kids now, and we're scattered all over the state, and we had a hard childhood. And the only other time I can remember really getting to spend time with them like that was, I got kicked out when I was 16, and they would come visit me sometimes, and we'd play Perfect Dark on the N64. And gosh, 3 teenage girls hollering at Perfect Dark. you know, I still really think fondly back to that time. And, you know, my sister's gaming was one of the only things we had that even bring us together. We had such a divisive, war-like atmosphere between us at the time. So, you know, I look back at Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Aladdin, and I haven't picked up Aladdin in years. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, though, I still have all the Chaos Emerald routes memorized, you know? Like, nice. I can go in and just, you know, by level 6, I got that Supersonic down, and, you know, it's been so many years. It's amazing as you remember over decades, you know. I don't know if I ever could recreate that, honestly, now that we're all adults.
Well, we'll get to that because maybe we can. That was an awesome story. I'm going to take away from, family again and common ground. Let's go on to Jason.
I'm a little bit older, and so for me, my first system was the wood grain Atari 2600. Sitting down in your bedroom in front of the TV, stacks of cartridges around you, you know, like they're trophies or something like that. And so that's one of my first gaming experiences. And the first game I was really obsessed with was an Activision game that came out late. It was like 1983, kind of around the crash. It was a game called Hero. And if you're interested in the Atari 2600, go check out a game called Hero because it's amazing.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very advanced for the Atari.
It was pretty big for them though too, right? So
yeah, because it was one of the first platforming games that came out on the Atari that was had any sort of depth to it. It was a lot of different screens. It was pretty cool. So I still love playing the game today.
All right, so I'm gonna put technology down for that answer. This is a weird code I have. I don't know what I'm doing. Anthony.
So I guess I kind of two. One was before I played games. My mom also was playing the Atari 2600, and she would play a lot of Miss Pac-Man. And her and her friend that lived, my mom, her husband, my dad was in the Navy, and so they lived separate now. But they would constantly call each other to report scores, so they could try not to do it because there was no leaderboards back then. But actually, so I remember that growing up. The video games were always in our house. But the first one for me was actually the Terminator, made by Bethesda in 1990 for DOS.
Very collectible now,
yeah.
By the way.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I think we still have it. That's interesting. It's such a weird game because, in my opinion, it's still the best Terminator game that's ever been made. Because you know, a lot of Terminator games, especially nowadays, they're either we've all probably played the arcade game one where you're just controlling a light gun, or if you've played stuff like Terminator Salvation, it's a third-person shooter or something like that. But this one really captured the Terminator experience. And I think that's what was so engrossing for it to me was that you arrived and it assumed you just came out of the time machine, and like an RPG, you then wandered around like a 3D rendered city of Los Angeles, and then you had to go into stores, and then since you didn't have any money, you had to steal things, and each time it would ask you if you really want to try and steal clothes. And if you stole just enough, you could get out without getting caught, or if the cops got called, then you would have to like get into a gunfight or run, and every car on the road was stealable, and then you could drive it first person down the streets.
So GTA.
Yes, and the whole thing was you either played as Sarah Connor and as Kyle Reese and tried to protect Sarah Connor, or you could play the easier route, which was to play as the Terminator and hunt her down. And it was such like a cool take on that. Like to this day, I still think that no game has quite captured Terminator.
Do you still have a box for that? Can we talk after this?
Yeah.
He's into collecting things. Anthony, what was your home life like at that time?
I mean, in some ways, it's like I had a similar thing like Danny in the sense that my brother and sister, we're only half brother and sister, and they're quite a bit older than me. So in a lot of ways, I grew up kind of as an only child because they were like 13 when I was 8, and they weren't really interested in hanging out with an 8-year-old. So I did spend a lot of time playing, that, and at the same time as playing that and X-Wing, and I think a really early version of, not MechWarrior, but another mech game that I can't remember. I can't remember, but it was another mech sort of game that I played way back then as well. So it was like, we ended up with a lot of these MS-DOS games because I think my dad would serve overseas and they'd end up playing them on the boat, and then he'd bring them home with us, and so I'd have all these games. And that's kind of why I spent a lot of my time doing that, because I didn't really become brother and sister with my brother and sister until I was like a teenager and cool to them.
So then you were playing the games instead, kind of using that as your escapism to do something.
Yeah, or at least, I grew up in a town with like 11,000 people, man. So you either played video games or you did meth and had babies. So
good choice, my friend. Good choice. All right, well, mine is, I'm older too, actually. I'm almost 40. And I know I don't look it. Where's the...
Nobody said that.
You don't.
Someone's like, you do. Yeah, I started with Atari. I mean, like Atari, I remember, you've seen those old commercials on YouTube where the whole family's around and it's like the glowing TV, the wood grain TV. I had that. We had that moment. And it was crazy because it was the first time it was like, hey, get grandma in here, get everybody in here. We're doing Pac-Man. It's a terrible version of Pac-Man. Yes. But it's still something. It's colorful, it's on the screen. It's taking over the television. It's amazing. So for me, it was definitely about that communal thing. And also, flash forward to Nintendo, me and my brother in the room that we shared, because it was like a miniature room and we were really poor, and just playing, you know, the games. We played the games with the radio on to like help us for some reason. Like the popular songs that we're listening to, we turned the music down on the video game. Has anyone ever done this?
On the, like, pumped
up?
Like Casey
Yeah, pumped up, yeah.
Remember Rocket Arena, Quake 3?
Oh, yeah.
You used to import your own music into that?
Yeah.
Whenever like a fat metal song came on, it was like blowing the crap out of people, and then India would come on.
I think ours was like top 40 though, so it probably doesn't work. Well, there was no MP3, right? Back then it was like put the radio on, so it was like Casey's. So yeah, I think for me it was computer related, Atari related, and Nintendo related, but it all had to do with escapists and then communal, you know, and family. So that's it. So let's look down what we have. We have escapism, different from other people. I think a lot of us feel that sometimes. Common ground, family, bonding, a little OCD, I think. Yeah. Right here, a lot of us, yeah. And then technology just being cool. So that's a bunch of things we have. I don't know how I'm going to use that list yet, but we'll get back to it. So let's ask the nitty-gritty question. Basically, can we recreate that feeling that we had when we had these first experiences in video games? And if so, how can we do it? I have a couple of examples, but I'll let you guys go first and field the question.
I really worry that, it's funny you said that because this is only something that's going to come to me recently, that what we're actually doing is that's what we're trying to do all the time. Because then we're trying to recreate that moment.
Oh, it's like Sisyphus or something.
And maybe we never do. And it's because it was only when you talked about sitting in front of a television with your family, which seems like such an alien concept to me, playing a video game, because my parents did not. They bought the Amiga thinking it was an educational tool.
Oh yeah, right.
And we weren't allowed to play.
They were selling us that. They were saying like,
totally. That reason. Great idea, because it duped a lot of. It was great, you know, trick your parents. But that was like a real solitary thing to me. It was like, this is what I did on my own. Everyone else get away from me, and that's that kind of youngest child thing maybe as well. And like that's how I play games now. Like I play Oblivion for 400 hours. And, you know, even when I played Warcraft, I walked around on my own. You know, I just be happy to wander through Stranglethorn instead of like actually going on quest.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's like, do you guys feel like you played the same type of games you played when you were younger? Emily, did you play any
games have changed way too much to even, you know. I mean, I played so much Sonic the Hedgehog back then. And yeah, I'll still play Sonic the Hedgehog now or something. But you know, I know my OCD manifests in different ways now as I grow up. Like for instance, I'm really into Bethesda games, obviously. And I notice as I'm older, what happens now is that I'm a completionist. And I'll go in and I'm that chick that's like, I know how to get every piece of unique armor, every piece of, you know, every unique weapon. I'll give you a video of how to do it. Like I'll do every last thing in the entire game. I'll know everything about it. And so, gosh, in 20 years that hasn't changed at all. Going back to the question of can you recreate, you know, what you felt back then? And if I look back at the family bonding thing, I ended my story kind of saying, I don't know if I can kind of recreate that, but you know, I give it a little thought. And I remember back to when my daughter was born, and my sister Nicole had bought me Soul Calibur 2. She knew I wanted it really bad. I was not into fighting games, but it had Link. Alright, it had Link, okay.
They got you. That's why they put him in the game.
Hyrule Warriors. Hyrule Warriors.
That's not gonna work.
So she bought me the game, and she stayed with me for about 2 or 3 weeks after my daughter was born. I had lost so much blood that I almost died, and I remember she would hold my daughter, just like this. She'd have the controller, and she'd just go, and we got so good at the game. And to this day, like if you give her a controller and set her down with a Soul Calibur game, but then you give her something to go like I swear she plays better like this.
She holds random things.
She does like this. But just watching my sister for hours holding my baby daughter playing Soul Calibur 2, of course I can have that experience again. I mean, as we grow up and we have these major significant events in our life, that doesn't mean games aren't a part of it. And she bought me that game because, hey, you're going to be having some downtime and let's pass the time together. And that is one of my fondest memories of her being there for me during that time with Soul Calibur 2. And still love Soul Calibur. So.
And then again, that's family. That's
it is family. That
recurring
goes right
theme.
back to
It's in my notes.
Yep.
Family. Jason, what do you think?
I'm still amazed by games. I mean, walking around PAX, and because I'm very much into technology, and I love seeing water effects. I'm stupid that way, but I love it.
You're the guy.
I like it too.
Grass. I'll show you some grass. That's pretty good.
Yeah, grass.
Yeah.
Show us some grass, Carl.
I mean, wait, we're talking about copyright. It's legal now.
No, I know a great grass mod for you on Skyrim. No, seriously.
Both of those
But
things.
like, Destiny. Did you guys play the beta for Destiny? You look at the sky, and you're just like, holy crap. Like, it's amazing, So I really dig that sort of stuff.
But do you think that's the same feeling you had when you were playing, that early hero game?
Yeah.
It is the same feeling?
I get that feeling with new games and old games. So I'm a huge video game collector, and one of my favorite things to do is go backwards as well. So when I first got into television, I didn't own one as a kid, and just firing up and playing with that weird ass controller with the little disc on it, I'm like, what the hell is this?
That thing hurt at some point.
Yeah, but it's really cool. It's kind of like a phone. It's got all this stuff on it. So to me, there's a lot of discovery to happen in video games. I love the creative aspect of it. I always have. So.
Anthony, what do you think?
I think that I can still have those sort of experiences that I had with Terminator games. I mean, Bethesda still makes games in a lot of ways are very similar still. It's like, yeah, they look a lot better, but it still is about exploring that open world and making your memories. But I think, like, as far as recreating those sort of experiences we had in our childhood, like, I think that it'll still happen. It comes down to me, it's like a combination of two things. Like, there's like on one side, there's like games that people will play locally and remember now, whether it's like this new wave of games that are like Towerfall and all these other things that are meant to very much be like a couch co-op game. And then I think that the new sort of video game experience that's going to happen is like collective group experiences, like vicarious over the internet, like something like Twitch, right? And I feel like a lot of people, like, that's how they're going to remember it. They're going to be like, remembering the first time they played a game by watching someone that they identify with playing it. Like, I think that that's going to be a new type of memory.
Case in point, my own daughter the other day, she's like, so Mom, I want to play Majora's Mask. Okay, sweetie. All right, let's have this discussion. Mommy thinks that you should play Ocarina of Time first.
Mom's right, by the way. Mom's right. Yeah.
Paula. And she kind of intimates to me later that, well, and also in Majora's Mask, like, isn't there like time traveling and ocarinas? And I'm like, you've been watching Let's Plays again, haven't you? Yeah. And so I think you're right in that sense. And the first time she's ever experienced some of these major games that I want her to experience, it's been on YouTube. It's been through PewDiePie.
Yeah, I just feel like when people stream, the really talented people, they get a lot of people in their streams. They let streamers participate in the game with them. And there's actually, like, not that I'm saying the game that I worked on did it well, but the game that I worked on had Twitch commands that you could put in, and then people could interact with the game. And I feel like stuff like that's that's a Sony requirement for their platform, and I feel like eventually it will stop being a requirement and start being something that people will start using really creatively. So I feel like the experience will turn into that, to where it'll be something like a shared experience that will be something you'll remember. You're like, I remember the time that I was playing this game and I did this and it fucked up that guy's game or something like that. Like, and that's sort of different too, right? Those online experiences, like some of my favorite memories I ever playing the early days of EverQuest. And it's like when you ran into someone I played on a PvP server, you didn't know if they were going to kill you, and there was no voice chat in the game, so you would like dance, and then they dance back, and if they dance back or something like that, you're like, I think we're cool, and then they would kill you. But it's like real life. It's like that level of, or like one of my in EverQuest 2, in EverQuest Combat 2, not the video game 2 because I wouldn't play, but we used to create characters and we used to love going around and playing like a theme. So like we all made Lizardmen, Ixar monks, and we all named ourselves after Ninja Turtles and dressed exactly the same.
Nice.
And so whenever we'd show up, we'd say Cowabunga, and then we'd like kill steal them, and then we'd follow them around, kill stealing them, taking their experience over and over again, which is very mean. But then they'd be like, oh, why are you guys doing this? And we're like, no, man, we're just trying to keep you safe from all the bad people out there. Like that sort of thing. I think those are the type of gaming memories that people are going to have too, right? That's very different from us because of that online experience.
But yeah, like you're talking about that, like an online situation with a bunch of friends. Like so many of the conversations we had at the start were like, all memories were based on people, like either being alone or being with other people. And like that's like apples to apples happening now. It's like that's why Minecraft is so big. You've got boys and girls all over the world who live in either small towns or they live in out families where they don't feel like they're comfortable leaving the room, or they have perfectly fine lives, but they want to meet new people, and like it's this easy thing you log into and suddenly like you were legitimately in another world, like almost like EQ, where you have legs and arms and stuff and a person, and there's a world to interact with and other people. So it's the exact same. It's just technology has changed.
Yeah, have you guys noticed that board games have made a huge comeback?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It really is.
When I was a kid, we played Live and Sorry and stuff like that. Sure, my parents. I'm amazed now that there's like bars in Seattle where people go and.
Oh yeah, Cafe Monks.
I bet there was loads
It's
of
awesome.
people who did as well, but like the cool thing, and it's the cool thing about PAX, is that now people are talking to each other about it.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times I know, like I really played those games as a kid, and then years later you found another person in your school that you're like, oh, we never talked about it because we didn't want to learn to. Like, how many of you guys play board games? Most people in the room. Yeah.
I mean, and I think that sort of sense of community is a different sort of gaming experience than what we had too, right? Like when I was playing Terminator, I didn't know anyone that I could talk to about Terminator.
Someone else is playing
But
that
nowadays, the first thing I can do about any game I'm playing, whether I'm like a 12-year-old kid playing Minecraft, is I can type in Minecraft into Google, find like a message board, and then I can go talk with people. And then before I know it, someone's posting a link to their server, and I can go join their server and now I'm meeting people that I which is cool and scary at the same time, you know, if you're like a parent, I guess. But like that's the sort of experience and a memory that I think, while it isn't recreating stuff, yeah, it's a really cool potential new thing for people who are younger.
Yeah. And real quick aside here, and then we'll get to Tadhg and his thoughts. I don't want to sound like an old fogey, but that on the couch co-op I missed. I mean, I still don't understand why a lot of modern games won't put that in there, because why not? I want to bring the Tadhg and Danny over and play on the couch.
There's a whole bunch of indie games that are trying to bring it back. And
That's true, they do. Yeah.
But like that whole kind of like 4-player co-op or PvP or whatever on the couch sort of formats.
Right. In the indie scene, yeah. Tadhg, what are your thoughts on this one?
So it kind of, the question has two parts for me. One is, can I get back to that feeling? And the other is that feeling retrievable or achievable, if you like, for other people? And for me, I don't think I can. And the reason I say that is that I don't remember who it is who said it, but there's a precept about games that suggests that says that when you're between the ages of 8 and 15 or something like that is when you encounter all of the games that sort of define your sense of quality for the rest of your life. Like that everything that you look back on from there, you will, if you like, unconsciously compare to what you played when you were 12. And when you were 12, you had, I think, a lot more of a capacity for suspension of disbelief. You had a lot more capacity for just kind of going, oh yeah, no, it's awesome, it's great, like, because the novelty is so much bigger for you. But I'm not 12, I'm 40. And I have played 28 years more worth of games since then, and it's unavoidable at that point to compare and contrast and to sort of draw lines and to see like things as developments from one to the other, and just bring your sense of context with you. Also, as an adult, or I suppose, my sense of what I kind of value in all my media, not just my games, is very different. I don't read books that 12-year-old me used to read. I actually try to from time to time, and it's like, I remember this as being so much better than it actually is.
But
this is
like
terrible.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy stuff.
Oh well, yeah, but of course, yeah, they're classics. Yeah. But no, there's a lot of stuff like that where like there's time of life kind of stuff that goes on. At the same time, I think for the kids who are growing up today, they are having exactly the same experience as we are. They're just having it with different games. So like there are loads of kids who are 12 years old who are now playing games on iPads, for instance. They're playing tons of different things that we maybe look at with sort of slightly skeptical eyes, or eyes that sort of go, I know what that game is like. It's just like this. There's a better version of this that was on PSP 3 years ago, blah, 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 blah. But they don't know that. They have no idea. For them, they're coming to it blank, and they're coming to it fresh. And they actually get to see it with the eyes of wonder that we all kind of remember having. So the funny thing for me is, I reckon like 20 years from now, when this panel comes around again, and you're like 60, and you're getting a bunch of like other 30-year-olds come on, they're going to be talking about games. You'll be like, I've never played that. I've never played that either. I don't know what that is. And they'll
have that panel, by the way.
They'll be super enthusing about their time in Farmville, and you'll be disgusted. But nonetheless,
let's not take that as the future.
But some of them will. There will be definitely someone out there who's like, yeah, that was just like the best thing. I spent all my time growing corn. It was amazing. You know?
Have we turned into like our parents now, where like when we were playing games, there wasn't that precedence. Like you didn't talk to your grandmother, and she went, "That's not video games."
Yeah.
I played video games. Like,
What your grandma?
What is salty lady?
What I was going to say though is one of the biggest lessons as a designer of games is you have to kind of realize that your audience is often in a different mental space than you are. So and not let your cynicism or your critical eye or sort of override things too much. You have to learn, I guess, to be a lot more tolerant of things that you would consider to be a bit of overpath, thinking like, and actually you're doing them a disservice if you let yourself too much in, so to speak.
I would, for me, I would say Skyrim was the first time I felt a little bit like I felt with Zelda. So Zelda was like, this is a world and it's opened up, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. This is the book, which the book was so good, right? And it's the maps, and oh my goodness. And then Skyrim was the first time I felt like, because I played Oblivion, I played the other stuff, Elder Scrolls games, but that one just is fully realized world, and I felt like I'm going to go into this, and I just felt awed in a way.
I really identified with that observation.
Yeah,
I really like that.
It was similar to that sensation. And the other one was Fallout. Fallout 1 was incredible. And the first kind of you made choices, and they made a difference. And then Fallout 3 was like, oh my goodness, that's the same thing, but with first person, it's great. Still an amazing game I can play right now. So I think those two were, again, technology, showing me what I loved from the beginning, but kind of in a new way. And I hear that. Another thing that kind of came out of this discussion is we were all around when it started. I mean, you were stuff like, your grandmother didn't have a favorite game, but we do, and we had those moments when video games started. That's got to have something to do with it, right?
I think it's for all of us, the bottom line is that the things we remember is like our first experience with something, so we had never encountered that before, right?
Yeah, right.
And so I feel like we want to add those, if we personally, I think you're right, and absolutely right in the sense that there will be kids that will have those memories, but it'll be with something like Farmville or something but it was just because that was the first time they had ever encountered management in a video game. It's like, so for us to experience something new again and have that, I think it'll have to be something that's totally unprecedented, and it'll end up being, for us, maybe something really weird, like the first time we played a game with VR, like that. There's like a game here at PAX, it's like a two-player bomb disposal game. And that game is totally unlike anything you've ever played, right? If you're not familiar with it, like what happens is one person is looking at this bomb, and they're looking at it, and they don't know what to do, and then the other person is saying, describe the bomb to me. Oh, well, it has a red, blue, and a green wire, and they're flipping through a manual being like, oh, okay, the red, blue, and green one, you need to look, what's the serial number? Okay, cut the blue wire, and then do this. And so it's like, this two-player, can you disarm this bomb? Like, that's totally unique. Never seen anything like that. And to me, that can be something that can create that sort of sense of wonder for us again, but I think it's going to require weird new experiences, right? Like, I don't think any of us are necessarily going to feel it from a first-person shooter again, because we've done that, right? It will have to be something totally different.
Or maybe it's a case of stepping outside of your comfort zone. You saying that just reminded me that this year I never played any isometric Final Fantasy Tactics or anything like that. And I played Transistor a couple of months ago, and that was legitimately one of the most enthralling gaming experience I've had in a number of years, because I'd never played it. I had no context for that stuff whatsoever, and I wanted to play it because of how it looked and really sort of shallow reasons. And then when I played it, it was like, wow, this is actually incredible. And that's probably opened up a new doorway of games as well. So perhaps games are so broad, and you probably have everyone probably has tunnel vision because we tend to play what we're comfortable with. So maybe that's a way of grasping that sort of feeling.
Danny, that's right. I actually just recently started playing more casual games, but all of that definition is anything right now. I mean, Journey's casual is kind of, but more than iPad games. And when you work in video games, I do a lot of different stuff. Obviously, stuff with video games all the time. And your life is crazy, and you're running around and flying on planes. Casual games are pretty fun, and I found this whole new thing. Wow, I really enjoy doing some of this management stuff, or just in this iPad, and that's all anywhere in that. So that can be the type of game as well.
I think there is something to you were saying about given that we're the first generation, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think we have a huge tendency, because we are of that generation, and because it's very, if you like, important to us culturally as a result. We have a huge drive toward retro, and a huge drive toward, this whole panel is pretty much formed with that in mind, this idea of preserving history and preserving legacy and preserving the lessons of, preserving feeling of, and all that kind of thing.
That's very important, by the way.
It's really interesting to me as a generation, so to speak, that we are very fixated on trying to make sure that our past isn't forgotten. And it actually plays through a lot in what we sort of choose to attend or choose to be part of in the present.
As a critic, nostalgia has played this really important role for me in the sense that, I've been doing this for 6 years now, And once you get, once you're more aware of the hype cycle of PR and advertising, you become very jaded after a while. I mean, you see so many games come and go that you get really excited for, and then it turns out to be, you know, absolute garbage. And you see it happen over and over and over and over again, you know, several times a month even. As far as nostalgia is concerned, it's, you know, one of the few areas in my life where I stop and I take my critics glasses off and I stop, you know, over-examining every little aspect of a game, and I decide to just be a kid again. And so nostalgia is something I have to tap into to remember how much I love games. Because once you become overly critical, you just start to lose that after a while. So in that sense, retro games and harkening back to some older stuff, like when Sonic the Hedgehog 4 came out, that helps me as a critic because it, you know, it reminds me of why I got into this in the first place, and the enthusiasm and the excitement and the wanting to like something, I suppose, you know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's some things that you said too about the memories that we made when we were younger being partially influenced by the fact that, like nowadays when I have a game, like, you know, I play something on Steam and I check it out for 20 minutes and I'm like, all right, that was interesting, but I spent $5 on it and I'm not really that interested. But when I was a kid, it didn't matter. Like my parents bought me Fester's Quest for my Nintendo one year, and that is known as being a pretty bad game. But I also played the shit out of that. So that was like the only game that I had, right? So I think there's something to be said about the fact that, like, you know, we have this area time where games are cheaper than ever in a lot of ways. And not only that, but as an adult with disposable income, I can, you know, if I'm bored of something, just move on.
Isn't that awesome, by the way?
It is awesome, but at the same time,
it's awesome, but we don't always get there. It's a chance.
Exactly, and I think that partially as a kid, some of those really fond memories I had were made because even though I get frustrated, it was like, well, I have nothing else. So I'm going to just walk through this even though I don't want to. And then I would end up maybe giving it way more of a chance than I ever would nowadays. Nowadays I'd be like, fuck it, never going back.
That's the only, that's the only game you had. I was just going to bring that up. Like, you have like the $50, $60 game that your parents got you. Yeah, I'm going to play the crap out of it, you know?
There is a sense with games that it's all going a bit Flappy Bird. And so, like, we look back a lot on the games that we think, or at least we remember as being maybe very deep. Sometimes they're not, actually. Sometimes you look back on an old game and you're like, no, this is really thin.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a sense, especially with app-style games or whatever, that the games are very burnable then, if you like, and like you're trying to give them 10 minutes and you go, all right, that's done. I'm playing Swing Copters. No, that's boring. Okay, I'm on to the next thing. And I think for a lot of us, that feels like, imagine TV shows, imagine TV drama shows were actually turning into like advertisements, and they were going at advertisement length, and they were kind of as thin as advertisements, and that's all they were.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, right. But that's, I think, with a lot of, particularly with app-style games, there's a lot of the sense that that's kind of what's happened to gaming, so to speak. So there's a lot of kind of urge to get back to deeper curves and deeper loops and stuff.
Did you guys see that video recently that was going around just through social media where they basically were showing a bunch of younger kids an original Game Boy?
Oh, yeah.
I love that video.
Yeah.
They're like, it's got buttons. What are these buttons for? Like, this is like a baby's toy or something. It's so weird, wasn't it?
Some Elijah Wood shit.
I guess, I think my point is if you love your children,
That's
so
right.
buy them one
Thank you
game.
for getting that show.
Buy your children
Thank you.
Buy your children one game, and if they hate it, tell them too bad. That's it. They'll end up loving you for it long.
Tell them to talk back into detention. Let's go into, do you think we should just bring back the weird video game commercials? Is that it? Because they were ridiculous, and we just took them, and we got excited about the games, even though they're like, whoa, totally.
Those weird video game commercials on there, 40 minutes, that's better on YouTube.
Yeah, that's true, they are.
That's what
All of them together.
and it's better. It's like there's less of a, you know, you actually see something playing the game.
But what are the video game commercials today? Like, the gameplay, right? Or
No, they like movie trailers.
movie trailers?
Yeah. I will say that I feel like in a lot of ways game ads have kind of become a little bit more impersonal. Like I just feel like they're not.
That's what I mean, yeah.
They're not for me in a way. Like so one of the coolest promotion things that I think ever happened was, for some reason, I don't remember why, I think maybe I subscribed to Nintendo Power at one point, but Nintendo mailed me a VHS early advanced thing to be like, hey, Donkey Kong Country's coming out. Here's like a 20-minute promotional video of Donkey Kong Country. And so that was the very first game that I made my mom show up at a KB toy store the day it came out, and we lined up.
That worked.
To go buy it. Yeah, it totally did. But it was also because like they sent this to my house out of the blue, and you know it felt like I was like, oh, okay. I just somehow, you know, very conniving in a way, but to me as a little kid, I was like, yeah, they wanted me, and then just it felt personal. Nowadays, I go to IGN or any other place, right, and I'm just like, yeah, there's this fucking video, okay, you know, it's like I don't know, it's just.
You're so jaded.
There's nothing to feel. I want to feel special, and I don't feel special. Send me VHSs. That's what I'm saying.
It was a physical thing too, you know. It wasn't like
exactly. I kept it.
You still have it?
I don't know if I still have it, but
I love this.
I did
go watch it right now.
I used to keep it.
To the panel we're
I
watching.
used to keep it in the box with all my Super Nintendo games because I was like, this is fucking something really cool. I want to keep it.
I couldn't afford a PlayStation, but official PlayStation magazine had like this VHS thing on it, like 20 minutes of promotional bullshit. And I bought the magazine and watched it, and it's like I can still remember like shot for shot. And we were editing some stuff in GameSpot a couple of weeks ago, and like I wanted to like, there's something I remember from something in the deep recesses of my stupid mind. And I went on YouTube, and some dude had put it up there, and like it has like 200,000 views. So like. It's weird the way we try. We just want to see games. And back then we just wanted to see games. I couldn't even play those games. I didn't even have the console. And that's like people are doing the same thing now with Twitch and YouTube. Sometimes like people don't. Some people just watch Dota. They don't even play it.
Yep.
Which is a whole other panel.
Yeah.
My old man voice comes in. Let's do into this idea of replaying video games. So to get back that feeling or whatever, if I go back and play Legend of Zelda, can I get the same feeling? I mean, the obvious answer is no. But do any of you guys get it? We've talked to you some before that you get a little bit of that feeling when you go back and play an old game from those moments.
Well, I felt interesting from stuff we had on the GameSpot stage a couple of days ago. Was one of the guys from Evolve was talking about what games his son played, and one of the games his son was really into. This kid, I think, was like 7 or 8 years old. Was Shovel Knight.
Oh yeah. Which
is any of you guys played Shovel Knight? It's like that is like as apples to apples to like old like Nintendo games as you can get, including like the difficulty and stuff. So like I think when we go back and play those games, it's just pure nostalgia. It's like listening to an old CD or watching an old movie or whatever. Like I don't think you said record.
I said record because I'm old. Established. Like listen to the wireless.
But
there's a can.
What I like is that perhaps there are kids today who are playing games that are almost like the same thing, who are actually having that exact same experience. Like HD releases are a really fun way of just like giving yourself an excuse to play old games again. But like, you know, we were talking about, or Anthony was talking about going back and playing games that, you know, actually kind of sucked. Like I used to love Speedball 2. Big Man Brothers made I went back and played it. It was so hard.
Yeah.
Now when you play it today, it's not really hard. It's like it has changed because I have changed. So like, what I actually want to do now is start going back and playing games I missed because I've never actually played Ocarina of Time. I didn't have Nintendo.
Out loud.
Yeah. So that's what I want to try to do.
There's also an element of when you go back and look at a game that you used to be like in love with, if you like, years ago, you can see the frame of it much more than if you like kind of the overall experience. You're aware of like what the parts do much more, and you're aware of like what the bits and the bobs are. But that in a way actually detracts from the sense of like enchantment around it. Like you're not kind of going like, oh my god, what's this object? It's like, oh yeah, no, that's that. Like, it was like 3 level upgrades of that. I remember it was in that cave there somewhere, isn't it? Yeah. You don't want that one. That one's rubbish.
Discovery.
It becomes much more tactical, I guess. It becomes much more kind of mechanical. And so for me, I enjoy replaying some older games if I'm in a sort of study mode, because I want to like learn some lessons. But I often find I don't actually want to go back to the games of my youth because they just sort of disappoint me.
That's a sad answer, but all right.
I'm the Daryl one. I'm sorry.
I'll say real quick, Bomberman. Everybody, Bomberman.
Yeah.
That one holds up. Version. Done. And it kind of doesn't matter.
Don't say any version.
Oh, really? Well, I like that.
Bomberman Act Zero is a game that exists.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Bomberman 93 is my favorite, but if you're getting that granular on it. Yeah, Act Zero does not. We don't care about that.
That's not that's kind of.
Yeah, there's a couple I think that hold up again. Why Bomberman for me? Because it's the local. Like, we all get together after this, right now. Maybe that's going to be a thing. And we play Bomberman. It would be fucking awesome. No, that's it. We have a magical moment. I think it's that communal thing that I like a lot, But go ahead.
Oh, no.
So we can make it happen after this.
We're going to make it happen, yeah.
You're all invited.
Also, I have
can't
one
pull that
up.
Ring have to get like 16 controllers, multi-tap.
Yeah. It's like the turbo tap inside another turbo tap, yeah.
What I was going to say was actually just that, in terms of recapturing that original feeling, I think it's important to remember that as children, kind of the biggest sense that we got going into games was a sense of discovery,
When you played, because you said like you're pretty full out of and you said you're a big fan of Zelda. when you play Fallout, it feels like this like vast
with so many options and just wandering.
Because when you play Zelda now, like maybe it doesn't feel that way.
Not so much, no.
But then,
well, yeah, remember storage felt huge.
It felt like the biggest world of all, and so like that's another area where, as a critic, I notice like if someone tells me about a game and it kind of piques my interest a little bit, at that point I know if I want to enjoy it at any point in the cycle, I need to stop listening to the hype and advertising right then and there. Don't listen to anything else, and allow that sense of discovery to come over me again. And case in point, Fallout 3. I had one person come to me and was like, I think you'd really like it, you know, it's post-apocalyptic, there's all these decision-making aspects, and you should give it a try. Discovering that for myself, without having any other outside influences, and just going into it blind, was one of the best video game experiences I've had my entire life. And I had that as an adult.
Yeah.
So that sense of discovery, like, getting back there isn't hard. I do think that eclipsing some of the advertising cycle was a little bit of that, you know, and that's something I've had to do as a critic to enjoy games anymore.
I do find with a lot of modern games that reviews kind of really wreck it for me. Because they kind of read a lot like car reviews. It's like, oh, you know, it has the stereo and stuff. It has like, I don't know, Blu-ray drive back or whatever. Like the game is...
Why would you want a car with a Blu-ray?
I don't know. We should make cars with Blu-ray drives.
Okay.
Somebody has, I'm sure.
Yeah, I read about a car.
A record player for you.
Yeah, the car that is a mobile film station or something. But like, something like that. Somebody goes, oh yeah, no, it's got sort of it's got like options, it's got this, it's got that, it's got character customization, it's got DVD. And you're like, okay, fine. Like now it sounds like sort of a sort of bucket of Lego bits that I sort of pull, and I know exactly what they are, and I know exactly what they do, and so I have no real interest in kind of diving in because, like you say, the exploration is actually like long gone already. It's formed for me. So, and that's not something we have when we were young. I think that's part of why maybe we were just so accepting of a lot of games, good or bad, because you're just like, I don't know what it is.
I know what it is, but that's fun. That's discovery. Yeah. As an aside, I don't like movie trailers. You know those really long ones. Come on, just I want to go in the movie. I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, the same kind of thing.
It's kind of ridiculous. I know what's quite sad, I guess, from working with GameSpot and basically, like primarily historically, all we did was this is the game that's coming out, and now the game is out, and you can now play it. Right. And what's happened, which I actually think is really good, in the fact that like YouTube. Let's plays and like all that sort of stuff has gotten really popular, and like trailers, which used to be the bread and butter of traffic, and previews used to be the bread and butter of traffic, and nobody gives a shit anymore. And like it's kind of great because like people are suddenly realizing, you know what, I'm gonna wait for that game to come out, and then I'm gonna play it, and then I'm in that conversation with everyone else afterwards, where I can now talk to and see how other people play it and all that. And like,
and the game has to allow for that too, right? Like in Skyrim, right? We were all that was a water cooler game. Oh my goodness. So we can do that right out after the show.
Like early access and like, you know, games that are getting like DLC or like not DLC, but just like community focused stuff. Yeah. It's totally changed it. And like I think sites like us have like only recently sort of been like, oh yeah, we need to change the way. Because people are changing the way they maybe in the conversation.
It is, but it's good. We'll do one more question because we're almost out of time actually. I just want to, it's not really a question, but we all mentioned family. Almost all. I think Jason, you still we all have experienced games.
I have a family. Yes.
You have a family. I live in here like I don't know.
Or is this a proposal? Is this what you're thinking?
No, it's not. No. So what do we think about that? Because I feel like is that still in everybody's lives when we talk about new video games?
As a matter of fact, just this weekend, my wife and I picked up the new Diablo on PlayStation 4, specifically to play it on the couch. So basically, her and I co-op, it was awesome. We did it. We were playing that way too late last night.
Oh, you finally got it's awesome.
Yeah,
I knew you. So that's one. Anthony, what do you think?
So I don't have a family. I mean, I know family of my own. I'm saying like I have my family, extended family. My parents live separate.
Any family counts.
My dad doesn't play video games anymore. You know, my mom sadly stopped too. Like I think, and now they're so intimidated by them, they would never jump into anything beyond like. Maybe an iPhone game or something like that, which is fine, but I'm just saying, like, the days, like, my dad sees Call of Duty as a dude that was in the military for a long time, and he wants to try it, but the two-stick thing is just, like, he gets pissed that he can't get it on. But for me, yeah, it is really nice to have someone to share it with, so, like, I have a girlfriend, she has games, really, and so now I'm, like, taking her, you know, I have, like, a curriculum that I set up to kind of take her through, so, like, it's like, alright, we're gonna play like The Walking Dead, Telltale game. It's like, alright, we'll just make decisions together, and that's really powerful. And then from there, we'll play something that's 2D, and then eventually I'll, you know, go to 3D. And so it's like, yeah, family is, whether it's family or just having someone that you care about, that you can kind of share these experiences with. I think that's really what like is great for us.
You know, touching on that a bit, I mean, art and entertainment in almost any form, in almost any medium, is so driven by human narrative and experience, and of course it's going to affect real human beings, and that's when we have so many bonding experiences with it. I mean, video games are like a painting or poetry or a movie, or sometimes you experience these things with other people and it can make it more profound, it can cement that memory. And how are games any different than that? They're participatory, of course they have that impact, even more so than other forms, you know.
Interactive.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm still having these experiences with people like my boyfriend's back there, you know, we've been together 7 years. One of our first dates was spending an entire weekend playing Diablo 2 together. You know? So it's one of my favorite memories ever, and I do not feel bad about that. Entertainment driven by human narrative will always affect human beings, and nothing wrong with that.
That's presumably why we're all here as well.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. Look at all of us here. I mean, thousands upon thousands of people coming together bonding over this one thing.
Yeah. I recently went back to Ireland for the first time in almost a year since I moved to San Francisco in October last year. And in that time, my brother had a baby boy, just back in July as well. And thank you.
You were part of it, yeah.
It was my sperm, actually.
Oh, that is now got weirder.
Sorry, Alan. Yeah, but we went back and he took some time off work and we were hanging out in his apartment in Dublin. And we were just sitting there and he was like, oh, he bought NBA Jam on Fire Edition. And he's like, I hadn't actually played it, but we used to play it when we went on holidays to Portugal in like the arcades. So I played like 50 hours. And he just wanted to game me again. So it was just like playing FIFA, except he was sitting on the couch playing, and I was lying back in my seat like this, with little baby Kit sitting in between me while I'm playing the game. And he's like, he fell asleep while I lost my brother in NBA Jam. So
I was gonna say, it looked like her story where it has to hold something.
I know,
yeah.
You're supposed to cradle a child.
A 4-month-old baby can lie whenever it wants.
Someone didn't play babysitting moment. That's all I'm saying.
Talk about you with that connection.
I still play games very solitarily. I still much prefer to play single player than anything else. It's not because I'm antisocial or whatever. I guess it's just like my family circumstances are such that none of the rest of my family ever really got into games in any particular way. My parents were both theatre people. They were like, "What the hell is it? What is this video thing?" You know. My sister wasn't really into it at all. It was really just me and that kind of thing. And I sort of carried that sort of through into my life. My wife, for instance, plays a lot of Plants vs Zombies, but she doesn't really want to ever pick up a joypad to play anything. She has that same sort of like, it looks complicated kind of reaction.
Some are really complicated. If you're looking at like getting someone started, 8 buttons.
Right. Plus, you know, she has like a lot of her own interests and stuff like that, and she's kind of motivated. So I stay playing single player games a lot, but I don't feel like I miss the family dimension particularly, or I don't feel it kind of particularly influences like what I'm into or whatnot, or I don't know that it's sort of, I feel like I'm sort of missing out. I quite happily just sit and absorb myself.
We could be family, we can all kind of play around.
No, I mean, like, my preferred kind of thing is like
to
sit in a game like Portal 2 and just be like that, like I would be in a boat or whatever, like just be kind of being roasted for like 6-7 hours with no distractions, and just sort of like, you know, be lost for a while. That's how I prefer to play.
I actually really like playing like that too. So yeah. My brother's in Portland, so we haven't been able to get together. I want to be together with him on the couch, you know, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Because I can play him on multiplayer or whatever online, but it's just not the same. So it'll flow be that way. All right, any final thoughts? Because we're almost out of here. Any final thoughts on video game memories? Fun random memory, or
I feel like PAX is like the best palate cleanser for this sort of stuff because you know, whether you like Anthony working in development, whether you're like you're a freelancer or you work in development as well, or like anything, like you're in this little insular bubble and you feel like the only gaming experience you can relate to is your own, and it's really like something else. You have to come to a place like this and talk to guys and everyone else who's had the exact same feeling, but a totally different way of having it.
Yeah, you all had your own memories, and that's what we're trying to share with you. But also remember that they can happen again. You know, we can have those memories again, and we're just having them different ways. And I probably should play the Oculus Rift. Go to the Oculus Rift booth. But then we're a bomb game. But I want to thank everybody for being here. Anthony, where can we find you?
I am
right there.
Oh. Yeah, well, I do a podcast. It's called Rebel FM. You can find it on iTunes. And I also do another podcast called Comedy, but it's not as much about video games. But it's a bunch of video game people that do it. So you can check those out. And if you're still going to be here at PAX, I'll be open on the 6th floor. You can come check out Video Ball, which is very much a co-op, sort of like traditional sort of couch experience.
Oh, nice. Jason?
If you're into retro video games, you can check out my channel on YouTube. It's Metal Jesus Rocks, and I'm also part of the All Gen Gamers podcast with a bunch of other YouTubers.
Well, like I said, I'm the managing editor over at GameRanks.com. We love to see you guys every day over there. Twitter, Players Use Drugs. I'm also part of the Jumping the Shark podcast. Pretty soon here, I'll also be part of the Fish Shark podcast, which is done by Jim Sterling and Conrad Zimmerman. And so yeah, keep your eye out.
And Diamond War on Twitter, GameSpot.com.
You can find me at whatgamesare.com.
Brilliant writing, by the way, by this guy. We're doing a video game break podcast, videogamebreak.net. That's what I'm doing here in Seattle. I'm doing a show with Jason called Crazy Time Video Games that launches in 2 weeks or so. Then other things on the internet. Whatever. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the PAX.